Yaps. It's in the name. Now, this has been a fascinating podcast. Lex Friedman, PM Modi, and if Uncle Iroh was a human being, he would be Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
You recently visited the United States and reinvigorated your friendship with Donald Trump. What do you like about Donald Trump as a friend, as a leader?
I'd like to share with you an event that stands out in my memory. Perhaps from that,
The fact that AI can kind of replicate Modi's voice in English is insane.
you'll get a better understanding of the point I'm trying to convey. For example, we had an event in Houston. Howdy Modi. Both President Trump and I were there, and the entire stadium was completely packed. A massive crowd at an event in the US is a huge moment. While packed stadiums are common in sports, this was extraordinary for a political rally. The Indian diaspora had gathered in large numbers. Both of us delivered speeches, and he sat down below listening to me speak. Now that's his humility. The President of the United States sitting in the audience while I spoke from the stage. That was a remarkable gesture on his part. After finishing my speech, I
Shows good
stepped
character.
down. And as we all know, security in the US is extremely strict. And
Well, I don't think it was strict enough during his campaign speech or his campaign reign because he was shot at twice.
thorough. The level of scrutiny there is on a completely different level. I went over to thank him and casually said, "If you don't mind, why don't we take a lap around the stadium? There are so many people here. Let's walk, wave, and greet them." In American life, it's almost impossible for the president to walk into a crowd of
Yeah.
thousands. But without even a moment's hesitation, he agreed and started walking with me. His entire security detail
I would say they were on high alert. I'm sure they probably like, what the hell?
was thrown off guard. But for me, that moment was truly touching. It showed me that this man had courage. He makes his own decisions, but also he trusted me and my lead in that moment enough to have walked with me into the crowd. It was that sense of mutual trust, a strong bond between us that I truly witnessed on that day. And the way I saw President Trump that day, walking into a crowd of thousands without even asking security, was truly amazing. And if you watch the video now, you'll be amazed.
I just think it shows like just trust, right? Like, hey, this is what Modi wants. Okay, I trust him. I trust everything that's going on here. I'm picking up what he's putting down.
When he was shot during the recent campaign, I saw the same resilient and determined President Trump, the one who walked hand in hand with me in that stadium. Even after being shot, he remained unwaveringly dedicated to America.
If anything, it like
His life was for his
he
nation.
doubled up.
His reflection showed his America First spirit, just as I believe in nation first. I stand for India first. And that's why we connect so
I
well.
Totally agree with
These
that.
are the things that truly resonate. And I believe that across the world, politicians are covered so much by the media that people mostly perceive each other through its lens.
And that's true. Most people don't have enough time in the day to truly stay caught up, so they're just going to go to their normal media source, and that's how they're going to view somebody. So like if you don't get on Twitter, right, and you just use, Facebook, CNN, CBS, whatever, and you're like looking at Elon Musk, you're going to think that this guy's like taking your jobs, that he's a freaking Nazi, that he's just a terrible human being. And though he is not perfect, I think he is not all of those things.
People rarely get the chance to truly meet or personally know one another. And perhaps third party intervention is the real cause of tensions.
Absolutely.
When I visited him in the White House,
See what I mean? He's so freaking wise, man.
for the first time.
So wise.
There was already a lot written about President Trump in the media. At that time, he was still new to office, and the world had a rather different perception of him. Even I had been briefed in many different ways before meeting him. But to my surprise, the very moment I stepped into the White House, he broke all formal protocols right away. And then he personally took me on a tour of the White House. As he showed me around, I noticed something striking. He wasn't holding any notes or cue cards, nor was anyone accompanying him to assist. He pointed things out himself. This is where Abraham Lincoln lived, he said. He even explained why the courtroom was designed so long. He would point at the table and tell me which president signed here and on what date. I found that incredibly impressive. It showed how much he honored the presidency
That's
and
true.
how respectful and deeply connected he was to America's history. I could feel that. And he spoke to me freely, discussing many things openly. That was my
Every president is going to be talked about in history, but man, Donald Trump is definitely going to have a lot of words written about him throughout history. I don't know if it'll be for better or for worse, but it's going to be a lot of words.
my experience from our first meeting. Later, when his first term ended and President Biden won, 4 years passed. But during that time, whenever someone we both knew met him,
Yo,
and
what's
this
up,
must
Irma?
have happened dozens of times, he would say, Modi is my friend, convey my regards. That kind of gesture is rare.
That's cool.
Even though we didn't meet physically for years, our direct and indirect communication, our closeness, and the trust between us remained unshaken.
This is what it truly feels like, and even people who I get to speak to in my real life who deal with like manufacturing and distribution, they kind of second this. Where it feels like America and India are going to have a beautiful friendship like develop over the next 4 years if they don't already have one, like an actual good friendship. And as he said, sometimes it's like you haven't seen a friend in a few years, maybe it's like over the summer or something along those lines, and you see them again, and it's like no time had passed at all. That's what the relationship feels like between Trump and Modi, for sure.
He said that you're a much tougher, much better negotiator than he is. He said this recently when you visited. What do you think of him as a negotiator? And what do you think he meant about you being a great negotiator?
Now, that's not something I can comment on, since it's his graciousness and humility. It is very kind of him that he openly appreciates me on various occasions and in different contexts. But about negotiation, I always put my country's interests first. That's why in every forum, I speak up for India's interest, not to harm anyone, but in a positive manner. And because of that, no one takes offense. People know that if Modi is present, he will strongly advocate for these things. After all, the people of India have given me this responsibility. For me, my nation is my high command, and I will always honor their will.
You've also had
How
a bunch of productive meetings with.
how could people really be against Modi, man? He's so well spoken. He says it with a smile on his face. Like when I try to read Modi and I try to like if I could read his aura like it's a freaking anime, it's just warm, welcoming, and friendly. Yes, will he put the hand down to protect his country? Absolutely, but he's not going to lift it up and go against another country. And I respect him very much for that.
Several other folks on your visit to the United States: Elon Musk, J.D. Vance, Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy. What are some things that stood out from those meetings? Maybe key takeaways, key memories.
Look, I can say this. I have observed President Trump both during his first term and now in his second run. This time, he seems far more prepared than before.
Yeah,
He
it's
has
like
a
he's
clear
already got
roadmap
a
in his mind
understanding what he needs to do.
with well defined steps, each one designed to lead him toward his goals. I also had the chance to meet members of his team, and I truly believe he has put together a strong, capable group. And with such a strong team, I feel they are fully capable of implementing President Trump's vision based on my interactions with them. I met several people: Tulsi Gabbard, Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, and there was a family like atmosphere. Everyone had come with
Mm.
their families. As for Elon Musk, I have known him since my time as chief minister. He was there with his family and children, so naturally, the atmosphere felt warm and friendly. Of course, we had discussions and we talked about many different topics. Now, with his Doge mission, he is incredibly excited about how it's progressing. And honestly, it makes me happy too because when I took office in 2014, I wanted to free
He's literally been PM for almost a decade. That's crazy. Since Obama, he's been the PM. That's
my country from the deep
impressive.
rooted issues and harmful practices that have crept in. And I'll continue striving to eliminate as many of them as I possibly can.
So he's inspired by
For
Elon.
example, after I took office in 2014, I observed that back then we weren't part of many global discussions,
I'm gonna
not
take
like
some
how
NyQuil here in a
President
little bit,
Trump and
Yash.
Doge are being talked about today. But let me give you an example so you can see the kind of work that was done. I noticed that the benefits of certain government schemes, especially welfare programs, were being exploited by so many people who never even existed in real life.
Just like here.
There were ghost names,
What?
pensions being issued to fake people, widow
See, I told you, India and America, it's the same, but different, but still same.
pensions were being granted even before marriages took place, and disability pensions were given without any real disabilities. Then I launched a scrutiny process, and you'll be shocked to know what we found. 100 million people. 100 million people. That's 100 million fake or duplicate names that I removed from the system. And because of that, we saved massive amount of money. Then I introduced direct benefit transfer, ensuring that every rupee sent from Delhi reached the rightful person without leakage. As a result, my country saved nearly 3 trillion rupees that would have otherwise ended up in the wrong hands. Just because of direct benefit transfer through technology, we eliminated middlemen, ensuring transparency in the system. I also introduced the GEM portal for government purchases, which has helped save both time and money. It has increased competition and improved quality. In India, we had an overwhelming burden of compliances. I eliminated 40,000 unnecessary compliances and removed nearly 1,500 outdated laws that served no purpose. So, in a way, my efforts have been about freeing governance from unnecessary dominance and inefficiency. And naturally, when bold changes happen, just like Doge's mission, they become a topic of discussion worldwide.
You and Xi Jinping have considered each other friends. How can that friendship be reinvigorated to help de-escalate some of the recent tensions and resume dialogue and cooperation with China?
Before we get to that, it's kind of impressive to me that Elon's Doge is not only affecting, like other American companies because other like large corporations are looking at their workload and they're like, yo, can we cut 75% of our staff and still function? But now also globally, like Modi's looking at that and saying, yo, we have 100 billion people taking advantage of these social programs. No more. Ugh, I might be no more. Holy heck.